Jonathan Frakes reveals why Star Trek Starfleet Academy features a starship. Star Trek Starfleet Academy represents one of the franchise's boldest new frontiers, a coming-of-age series focused on cadets, mentorship, and the formative years of future Starfleet officers. While the show has long been described as a ground-level look at the next generation of explorers, one detail has sparked significant curiosity. Despite being centered on the Academy, the series prominently features a starship. Recently, franchise legend and director Jonathan Frakes shed new light on exactly why this creative choice was made, and his answer reveals a surprising, deeply Trek-like philosophy underlying the show. In classic Frakes fashion, the explanation blends practicality, character storytelling, and franchise tradition. It also hints at the kind of emotional and thematic journey Starfleet Academy aims to chart, a journey that fits comfortably within 5 decades of Trek history while still allowing the newest class of cadets to carve out their own identity. A starship was never optional, it was inevitable. According to Frakes, the inclusion of a starship wasn't simply a creative flourish, it was a structural necessity. Star Trek is, and always has been, defined by exploration. Even series that begin in one location inevitably evolve into stories about the unknown. The writer's room for Starfleet Academy reportedly understood this from day one. You can't tell a story about the ideals of Starfleet without eventually taking characters into the stars themselves. Frakes noted that the Academy setting offers a rich foundation of interpersonal drama, mentorship, and aspirational growth. But if the story remained entirely grounded, something essential to the franchise's DNA would feel off. Exploration isn't just a backdrop in Star Trek, it's the emotional engine. By introducing a starship, the series ensures that cadets aren't isolated from the wider galaxy, but instead are slowly brought into it. What makes this choice compelling is that the ship isn't meant to be the same kind of flagship we see in Picard, Strange New Worlds, or Discovery. Rather, it functions as an extension of the Academy itself, a mobile classroom designed not for war or diplomacy, but for learning. The idea evokes the earliest days of NASA training missions more than it does the grandeur of the Enterprise. It's a starship with a purpose uniquely suited to rookies. Frakes calls it a bridge between worlds. Frakes explained that including a starship is ultimately about balance. Starfleet Academy promises to delve deeply into cadet life, grounding the narrative in the friendships, rivalries, fears, and academic challenges that shape young officers. But Star Trek is, at its heart, a franchise of adventure, and he emphasized that too much time in classrooms and corridors risked creating a series that didn't feel like Star Trek. The starship, he says, acts as a bridge between worlds, literally and thematically. It allows the show to maintain the youthful, campus-driven tone the creators want while still honoring the sci-fi spectacle fans expect. Cadet dramas can seamlessly evolve into unexpected first-contact situations, training missions can go awry in ways only possible in deep space, and classroom theory can suddenly collide with real-world crisis. Trope-wise, this is quintessential Trek, mixing character growth with galactic-scale storytelling. Frakes also pointed out that the ship present on the show may not always be used for epic missions. Instead, it can serve a variety of narrative needs, disciplinary excursions, field training, even simulations with real stakes. Its mere presence widens the possibilities for cadets to encounter ethical dilemmas, alien cultures, and moral tests that would feel contrived in a purely classroom setting. Honoring a Star Trek tradition, Frakes is intimately familiar with Trek's long-standing tradition of ship as character. From the Enterprise to Voyager to the Defiant, nearly every era of the franchise uses its central vessel as a narrative anchor. Even shows that were never supposed to revolve around starships, like Deep Space Nine, ultimately incorporated one to unlock story potential. Frakes specifically referenced DS9 as an example. Deep Space Nine famously began as a stationary, political series set on a space station designed to break Trek out of its Planet of the Week mold. But by Season 3, the Defiant was introduced. Why? Because without a way to venture into unexplored territory, the writer's room was creatively limited. The station could be a hub, but the Defiant became the emotional and narrative accelerator. Similarly, Starfleet Academy includes a starship not to become another traditional Trek series, but to provide a narrative tool the franchise knows it needs. It honors the tradition while reshaping it for a new generation. Frakes reportedly emphasized that the ship in Starfleet Academy won't overshadow the cadet narrative. His goal as a director is to use the ship as a setting for character transformation, not to hijack the show's core premise. The cadets are the story, he said. The ship is how the story moves. A starship as a symbol of responsibility. One of the most striking details Frakes discussed is that the ship embodies a deeper philosophical idea. To cadets, starships represent adulthood, authority, and the profound responsibility that comes with wearing a Starfleet uniform. By placing a ship within the Academy's reach, the show allows these young characters to see their future, and sometimes be forced to confront it before they're ready. Frakes described the ship as a promise and a warning. The cadets can touch the galaxy they're training to serve, but doing so may place them in situations they never expected. For a show about personal development, there's no better metaphor. The ship becomes a storytelling crucible. Under pressure, the cadets will demonstrate cowardice, bravery, creativity, or failure, not in simulations, but in scenarios that matter. The bridge becomes a testing ground where choices have consequence. And Frakes believes that is where the heart of the series will thrive. Room for cameos and legacy connections. Frakes also acknowledged that having a starship opens the door for something fans always crave: legacy characters. A stationary Academy story limits the plausibility of visitor appearances, but a starship traveling to diplomatic summits, border territories, or scientific anomalies creates natural entry points for veteran officers. While Frakes didn't spill specific names, the implication is clear: Starfleet Academy will build connective tissue with the broader franchise. Admirals could join training voyages, captains could serve as guest instructors during field missions, and characters from existing series could cross paths with the cadets in ways that feel organic rather than forced. Frakes, a master of subtle franchise weaving, seems fully aware of how to strike this balance. Cameos aren't meant to overshadow the new cast, they're meant to reinforce the world they're entering. The Starship makes this possible. The emotional stakes of leaving the Academy. One of Frakes' most insightful comments touches on how the presence of a starship actually heightens the Academy setting rather than minimizing it. By giving cadets occasional access to space, the show can explore the emotional push and pull between the safety of learning and the danger of real missions. For many characters, their first trip aboard the Starship will be transformative. Some will thrive, some will freeze. Some may discover exactly who they want to be, and others may learn what they fear becoming. This contrast between the structured, nurturing environment of the classroom and the unpredictable consequences of deep space creates a character-driven tension that Frakes says will define the series' tone. He compared it to taking your first driving lesson in an empty parking lot versus merging onto a highway for the first time. Suddenly, mistakes matter. Suddenly, you're responsible not only for yourself, but for everyone around you. That's Star Trek at its finest. A bigger vision for the franchise's future, beyond the immediate creative rationale, Frakes believes the Starship signals something broader about where the franchise wants to go. Star Trek is entering a new era, one focused on generational,